my shoot.
All right. Phone on my phone, it's just be sorry.
Okay.
Ready?
When you are.
Hello, Tina.
Hey, my love, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm
So-
blessed.
Good. So, let's start off with you telling me about yourself.
Okay, obviously you can hear from my accent. I'm from London. I am 51 years of age, a Gemini, and my son, he lives in Los Angeles and he's 26 years of age, and he's actually the reason why I'm in America.
How was it growing up in London?
Fabulous. At the time, we probably didn't know it was that fabulous, but for me moving to America, I realized how good we had it in the UK compared to how people have it in America.
Where did your love for skincare, etc. come from?
This bit's funny because
Where did your love for skincare come from?
this part is kind of a weird thing. In the black community in the UK, when I was growing up, we weren't brought up with a makeup and getting your hair done and everything else. We were very strict because we have our backgrounds are African or Caribbean. So if I even came home and asked my mum if I could put eyeliner on, it would definitely be a no-no. I didn't actually start wearing makeup myself until my very early 30s. I just always liked to look fresh and to look nice. It was never about makeup or aesthetics for me at that time, but it was just something that it was kept from me for so long, seeing all my other friends of other nationalities being able to, wear mascara and makeup and things in their early teens, and then full makeup when they were like 15 and 16. It was weird to me, but it was something that I was always watching.
Let's get into business talk. Since you're a businesswoman, why did you start your business?
Well, this is not my first business that I've started, and not the first business that I'm running. Freedom and security. It was never for likes, what we say now, it was never for likes, it was never to obtain a following or anything like that. It was just strictly for security.
How do you set your business apart from others in the esthetician industry?
I've actually thought about this question a few times, because when you're scrolling on social media and you get those little reels and it asks you business questions, and I have thought about this question, and the honest answer to that question is I'm 100% authentic. How I am at home is how I am at work, is how I am when I'm out with friends or out with strangers. You have to keep things very authentic, because people don't buy your products, they buy you.
How many employees does your company have, and what services do you offer?
At this moment, right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including myself, 6 staff members. Tomorrow we'll make 7. A very good friend of mine in the industry, she's coming to work with the Skin Girl. And services, in my salon in the UK, it was a full service salon. It was never focused only on Brazilians and body waxing. But when I came here, what happened was I opened up my own business in Covington, and everything was going fine, and then State Board had to come, and they do their monthly checks. State Board came and she said, "Oh, we're so happy you're here, you're going to do so well." At the time I was doing lashes, facials and waxing. And then as she was exiting my building, she said, "Oh," and she saw my British license on the wall. She said, no, you said you have to close down right now. You have to go back to school and give us 750 hours to re-educate yourself and get certified in America. So that was I wasn't happy at that time, put it that way. Especially because it takes years to become an esthetician in the UK, and this class, they wanted me, I had to pay $16,000, and the whole thing took 6 months. So it's a very sore subject for me. I'm not going to trying to put anybody in America off going to school, but think about your decision to go to school. Number one, because in the UK education is free. In America it's not. And I don't think at the age of 18 you truly know who and what you want to be in life. So for you to get into debt over something just to please other people to say you're going to college is ridiculous. But on the other side of the coin, if you're going to, let's say, a profession where you have to be professional, like a doctor or a lawyer, an architect, a nurse, or anything that you need skills, obviously you have to go to school, because who wants to go to the dentist on somebody who's only done a 3-month course on dentistry? So there's do's and don'ts, but I would say think hard before you make that decision in America to go to school.
What was your mission at the start of your company, and what is your end goal for your company?
My mission has always been the same: financial freedom. My end goal now, it changes all the time, but not like a teenager where this week I want to do this, next week I want to do something else. I actually think about every move I make. And my main thing right now is absolutely nothing to do with the esthetician world, but the esthetician world is the structure that is going to enable me to get to my end goal. And my end goal is to own multiple acres of land here in the south, so I can build multiple affordable homes for people who can't afford homes. And the way the world is going now, a lot of people are going to be out on the streets.
How much time do you spend working on your business each day?
I can tell you how many hours I spend a week. 59 to 70 hours a week. A lot of people think, oh, she's a business owner, you know, she's got money, she's doing this, she's doing that. When you're working for a W-2, you clock in and you clock out. You don't have any of the responsibilities. You don't care if the toilet roll is finished. You don't care if the stock is running low. When you're actually running a business, and a successful, busy business, you never clock off. Even when I'm sleeping, I wake myself up with questions about business, staff, how I can do better, how I can cut back, how I can, you know, expand. So for me to say 70 hours a week is about that time, but also remember, you never log off, ever.
So now we're gonna get into like tell me about questions. So tell me about a time that you had a rude client, and how did you handle that situation?
That's a very good question, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to actually answer this question. I can give examples always on British and the American way. Americans are very sensitive, and they care too much about how people perceive them or what people think about them. So when I get a rude customer, I always stop and think first. How has their morning started? Nobody knows what goes on behind people's closed doors. Just like this morning, I was driving here and I thought, let me just take this shortcut because I had to take my truck to the Chevrolet to get the service. And then the electric company closed down the road, but they didn't put a stop sign. So by the time I got to the end of the road, then I had to reverse all the way back because the work they were doing didn't enable me to turn around. I was effing and blinding. But then when I got here, I said, no, you're not going to bring that mood into work because it's nobody else's fault. It's not even the electric company's fault. It's my fault the way I'm feeling now because I decided to react that way. So sometimes you can get the most difficult person or the most difficult customer, but sometimes you have to have foresight and try and calm the situation. So I do things like, what happened to you today? You didn't get anything this morning from your husband? Come on, calm down, let's sit down, tell me what's going on. And sometimes, immediately, their shoulders will just go, and they will tell you, they're like, well, I'm peed off because of this, or this has upset me. And from there, you just start talking, and then you can exchange different experiences in life, and then before you know it, you've made a new friend because you've spoken instead of reacted.
When was the time that you had to make a hard decision in your company?
Every day. Every day. This is a very good question, but it's going to be very hard for me to answer. do love transparency, and I do pat myself on my back for my total honesty. Being a black woman with a black-owned business in America is very hard. Not because I'm a black woman and it's a black-owned business, it's because I'm a black woman that's not from this country. So it's very hard for black Americans who've never basically, not being rude, but never left their porch, to truly understand or to even broaden their minds to think in a different, certain way. But I'm not accepted very well here because, and I just put it in British terms, I've come from the UK, come to America, and I've become very successful, and people who live here, were born here and grew up here, are very jealous and hateful when we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Have you ever felt like there was a time that your company wasn't succeeding, wasn't meeting the
No.
goals?
No, never. I just never had that mindset. I never go into something without knowing it's going to work because I don't have time to waste. And my father, he always said to me, and he's Caribbean born, he always said to me, before you go in, look for your way out. So I've never ever thought, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Is it going to work? Because if you do something and it doesn't work, you've learned lessons. So the next time you do it, it's foolproof.
So have you ever had to fire an employee?
All the time.
For what reason?
Again, it's sad to say, it's going back to black-owned business with black staff members. One thing it really hurts my soul here in the South. Black employees respect their white employers 1,000 times more than they will ever respect a black employer. Sad but true.
Who is or was your biggest role model?
My teacher, apart from family members, you know, most people say my grandfather, which he was, and my father, which he was. My teacher, her name was Mrs. Roderick. And the reason why I loved her so much. The reason why I loved Mrs. Roderick so much was because one day we were in the maths class and she asked a question and everybody was putting their hands up and putting their hands up. And I didn't put my hand up because I was the only black girl in the class at the time. So it was very rare that I ever got picked. We all know the rhetoric. Very rare that I got picked. So I just sat there. Nobody got the question right. And then all of a sudden Mrs. Roderick came over and she slammed her hand down on my desk and she said, Tammy, if you know the answer to something or you know you're right in something, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people around you saying the opposite. If you know within your heart you are right, say the answer. She knew I knew the answer and I did know the answer. And that's why I will always remember Mrs. Roderick.
Where do you see yourself in your company in 5 years?
In 5 years' time, I see my company being split evenly between the last remaining staff members. I really have a plan to split it and let everybody run it and get an equal share of the company because my ultimate real ending, with it's nothing to do with business, is to be on my 5 acres of land with my lovely home, my homestead, breeding my Rottweilers. Oh, and my gardens. I like to grow my own fruits and vegetables, but that's my dream. Yeah.
Going back to yourself, can you tell me something about your parents, like their ethnicities?
Okay, so my mum's mixed race, white Portuguese and African. My grandfather was born in Sierra Leone, Freetown, Sierra Leone. That's where the movie Blood Diamonds come from. So I'll tell you a quick but inspiring story about my grandfather. When he was 13, he was a stowaway on a ship. He wanted to leave Africa and go to a foreign land. My grandfather thought that ship was actually going to America, but the ship was actually going to the UK. So when he got off in the UK, he met my grandmother, and that's how my mother came along. But up until the day my grandfather retired, he always worked for that same shipping company. Now you know that would never happen in this day and age with the child labour laws, but From the age of 13, when my grandfather fearlessly left the shores of Africa, jumped on the ship as a stowaway, stayed with the same company until retirement. Yeah. My mother, very spoiled. My mother was the only female of 4 brothers. Very, very, very spoiled. I don't really have a too close relationship with my mother. For many, many years, I wish that we did have, but now it doesn't do anything to me at all. And my father passed away 3 years ago. More than my mother, my father is the one that made me who I am. Yeah.
That's a good way to say it. My mom made me like. This is just something for fun. Say you were given an elephant. You can't give it away or sell it. What would you do with the elephant?
Rent it out. I'm about my money. Rent it out. People like props nowadays for their kiddies' birthday parties, and the waste from the elephant alone, you can sell that for people's gardens.
Any last words you'd like to say to the inspired entrepreneurs that are watching?
To all you up-and-coming entrepreneurs, for all you youngsters who don't have a clue what you want to do. You have so many interests, so many hobbies, especially now you're being bombarded with social media and perfect lifestyles, perfect hair, perfect nails, which is all a load of BS, by the way. There's nothing in life perfect. The only one bit of advice that you need to keep dear to your heart, you have to walk with God. That's the only way you're ever going to succeed and be happy with your successes. Even your losses, when you have God on your side and you work with God, you feel good every day. Yeah. But think before you spend that money on school.
Thank you so much for taking the time out and let me interview you. I can't wait to put this together. and
I
show it
thank
out.
you for even considering me. Because like I said, it's very hard for people to ingratiate with me, but the interviewer of this interview is going very far, let's put it that way. She's going far.
All right. That's a wrap.
I was one of my first interviews not done by a police officer. I was very nervous.
I just told him, I said, she's nervous, I'm nervous.
Those questions actually made me think about things past, and I think I'm going to call my mother tonight. But I enjoyed it.
Now I just get some B-roll.
Yeah.
I really like this video.
So should I put the music back on there so you can do the roll through?
You can put it on, and you can take the mic off too. I forgot about the light.
That's a wrap.